C70. I'm Pat Christmas, Policy Director here at 70. In a couple weeks, polls open. Tuesday, November 5th is Election Day. It is a big election. I know it can be challenging to keep track of our local elections, local politics, when there's so much craziness happening across the country and then in our national political scene. But we have a big election coming up. And local offices are the ones that can really, really matter, impact us on a daily basis. Mayor and city council are on the ballot, our legislative and executive branches here in Philadelphia, in addition to row offices, judicial offices, several ballot questions. It really will be a big day for voters, a lot of choices. And to get ready, we have a number of the at-large city council members or candidates coming through the studio. Of course, city council has 17 seats total. 10 of these are district specific, so voters in their given district will be voting for one candidate to represent them in that neighborhood. And then we have 7 at-large members, and we have Democrats, Republicans, third-party members, independent candidates running for those 7 remaining seats. Voters will have up to five selections for those at-large seats. So we're kicking off the morning with Matt Wolfe, Republican candidate for at-large council. Matt, thanks for coming. This is not your first time running for office. You were no stranger to Philadelphia or Philadelphia politics. Let's really pull the lens back and ask this big question. Do you think the city is on the right track right now or the wrong track?
Well, I think that it's a mixed answer. I think that the city is on the right track. Mm-hmm. You look at every economic indicator and everything is pointing in the right direction. Jobs are coming into the city. People are moving into the city. There's a lot of good going on. But as some people point out, if you compare us to our peer cities, the picture's not as good. We are not moving forward at the same rate as a lot of cities. And that has to do with our government. Mm-hmm. Frankly, we're held back by an anti-business, anti-economic development city council and a mayor who cares more about making the grade with his progressive friends than what's really important here in the city.
Mm-hmm. So there were some big issues we're going to be taking on. I mean, if you're going to win office, what should voters be thinking about? What's your case for them on Tuesday?
We elect 7 of our council members at large. Since we've been doing this, you get to vote for 5. And since we've been doing this, the way it's always worked and the way it's going to work this year is the 5 Democrats are going to win. Mm-hmm. But 2 of the 5 and only 2 of the 5 Republicans are going to win. And that's really the hottest race in the city is mm-hmm. which 2 of the 5 Republicans are going to win. So whether you like the Republicans or not, you have to, they pretty much agree on a lot of issues. So, what distinguishes me from the other Republicans? Well, one thing is that I've not been shy about talking about is really the culture of corruption here in Philadelphia city government and in particular on city council. Mm-hmm. I came out within days of Johnny Dock and Bobby Heenan's indictments with a press release and a video calling for Councilman Heenan to resign, asking for city council he's still, incredibly, the majority leader of city council, asking for city council to remove him from his leadership position and strip him of his committee assignments. No other Republican has stepped forward on that issue. In fact, no other council member other than Maria Canones-Sanchez, who only came out after she was safely renominated and has no Republican opponent. Mm-hmm. And people have speculated it has to do with a potential leadership fight next time. Mm-hmm. But let's focus on what I'm concerned about. No other Republican has mm-hmm. mentioned it, and none of them will. 2 of the Republicans have taken around $20,000 from Local 98. It's just not going to happen. And this is an important issue for Philadelphia. Some people say that city council members are more likely to die in office or leave office after a criminal conviction than to lose election. Hopefully that's going to change, but it's true. And so this isn't anything new. And in addition to Councilman Heenan, and let me just say, Councilman Heenan is innocent until proven guilty, no doubt about that. But read the indictment. The indictment's available online. It is not legalese. It's easy to get through. It just recounts the incidents in the wiretaps. And you know, they have Councilman Heenan sitting there as Johnny Dock is telling Comcast that if they want to get something through council, they're going to have to hire a certain contractor. It talks about, you know, Bobby Heenan incredibly calling L&I to close down the installation of diagnostic equipment at Children's Hospital. You know, getting free windows for his chief of staff, allegedly in return for tabling a bill that would have audited the parking authority. You know, whether he's convicted or not is beside the point. What he was doing was wrong and not what we want a city councilman to do. But, you know, Councilman Heenan is not the only game in town. As was reported recently, the city is now paying for Kenyatta Johnson's legal fees as he tries to fight off the FBI investigation into what has been reported to be some land deals. It was reported that he was involved in having the city transfer some properties in his district to a campaign contributor of his, who within a short period of months flipped them and made hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, these were below market rate sales. Why would the city sell properties at below market rate, which raises the issue, if the city has 8,000 vacant properties that they own, why do they own any? And if they are going to get rid of them, why don't they just auction them at a fair auction to get the maximum price for it? Which, you know, brings in the issue of what they like to call council prerogative. And also, it's been reported that Darrell Clark is the president of City Council, is under investigation by the Inspector General's office for a similar sort of land deal. You have and you know, are the current Republicans on City Council going to speak out on this sort of thing? They're complicit in it. You know, somebody did a study, and of, you know, my numbers are going to be off, but, you know, 300 or so land sale bills that went before City Council, only a few, you know, less than 5 were not unanimous. All the rest of them, they all passed, but they passed unanimously, but all but a few passed unanimously. You know, they're absolutely complicit in this, and this is what leads to this sort of corruption, and it needs to be stopped.
Yeah, well, you know, I think we'd certainly agree with the committee at the committee of 70 about the fact that in any political environment ecosystem, you need competition, right?
Yeah.
And when we don't have competition here in Philly for a whole host of reasons. I mean, one of which is the fact that the voter registration ratio is so lopsided, more than 7 Democrats for every 1 Republican. So you just made a case there for why, you know, not only is for voters there's a stark contrast between you and, I assume, you know, many or most of the Democrats on council right now, but also 2 of the Republicans who are currently on council.
All the Republicans who are running.
All the Republicans who are running, right, including 2 that you're running against. So also about, you know, you personally, professionally, civically, politically, in your background, you know, what about you will make you ready to do this work on day one? Well, if you're to win.
You know, well, number one, you know, I have been active in the fight to reform the Republican Party for 15 years or so, and we had some successes. We changed our leadership, and we moved forward for a few years there. And in my opinion, we've taken a step back. And we do need a viable Republican Party here in Philadelphia. It just isn't working that the Democrats, you know, just, you know, flow to victory each time. And it's not working. But you also have to understand that you need Republicans that can work with the Republican delegations in Harrisburg. The Republican majorities in the State House and the State Senate are not changing anytime soon. And, you know, I've been involved in, you know, statewide campaigns. I've served on the Republican State Committee. I have a lot of relationships in the legislature, both Democrat and Republican. And I think that I can more effectively than other Republicans get things done in Harrisburg for Philadelphia. And, you know, that's why you need Republicans on council, as well as you know, vocal Republicans on council. In addition to that, I mean, my real background is in the community. You know, I've been involved in my West Philadelphia community forever, since I've lived there. I was a longtime director and vice president of the Spruce Hill Community Association, which is my local community association. I think that sort of work is very important. I've been active on the director of the board of the Friends of Clark Park. I've been, I was director and counsel to the West Philadelphia Chamber of Commerce when that was active. If it was going on in my community, I was active and involved in it, and I think that that's given me a good background for what the real problems are in the city and how to solve them.
So let's assume you win. And there are a number of interesting races in the city in a couple of weeks, and the fact of the matter is, though, the politics of the body, it'll still be overwhelmingly controlled by Democrats. So given that reality in the next session, what will be your top priority as a council member, and then how would you get it done?
Well, top priority in Philadelphia needs to be poverty. We're the poorest big city in America by many measures, and you scratch your head and say, how could that be? We have some of the finest universities and hospitals in the world here in Philadelphia. We have a public transportation infrastructure you could never replicate. We're midway between New York and Washington. We've got Amtrak to whisk us there. We've got a port. We've got freight train service coming in. We've got a serious international airport. We've got Comcast and other major businesses located here. The only reason we're the poorest big city in America is decisions at City Hall that have chased jobs and opportunity and business out of the city. And we need to understand why that is. They just passed the plastic bag bill. I agree that plastic bags are a nuisance, but when you have a bright idea, don't go to City Hall. Go to Harrisburg. Go to Washington, because whenever you do it at City Hall, you put another obstruction to commerce. If the stores in Philadelphia can't use plastic bags and have to shoulder that expense, and the stores on the other side of City Line Avenue don't have to, that's why we're the poorest big city in America. If we have the highest soda tax in the country here, I had my formal announcement in front of the ShopRite on Haverford Avenue in West Philly is now closed under a big sign that said store closing because of beverage tax. You can almost see City Line Avenue from that store. So it was entirely predictable what was going to happen there. We need to reform that. We need to be bringing jobs into the city, not chasing them away.
Yeah. So a couple specifics again. So I hear the overall framework of how you think we get at the poverty issue in Philly. If there was a legislative change, though, an affirmative, a positive one that you think council could do within that scope you just mentioned, like what would that be? And then on the flip side, what would be one thing that you would fiercely oppose or fight against? I mean, feel free to mention anything you mentioned already, but what is something you would push for, and what was something you would push against or keep from happening?
Well, again, I think that we need to look at tax reform.
Okay.
We need to, every study has shown that the wage tax chases jobs out of the city, and that we've been lowering it. And not surprisingly, as we've been lowering the wage tax revenue has been increasing. Now, it's not necessarily, it's more complicated than to say that that's the only reason, but it's certainly a reason. But we need to accelerate that. But it has to come in the context of an overall tax reform. We can't have Philadelphia only taxes. We need to repeal the soda tax. We need to repeal the cigarette tax. We need to look at all these things that distinguish us from the rest of Pennsylvania and the surrounding area. Don't know how this is going to. What would I not vote for? I would oppose anything that keeps Philadelphia in our sanctuary city status. I'm sorry. I think that it conflicts with federal law. I think that it acts as a magnet for illegal aliens here in the city, which I think puts our safety at risk, and I think it burdens our taxpayers with services that they need. Same thing with the push to bring safe injection sites to Philadelphia. Safe injection sites. If you look at my website, you'll see that I do have somewhat of some extensive ideas on how to deal with this crisis, a very, very real crisis, and we've lost people close to us. And it's a national problem, and anybody that claims they have the answers is wrong. But giving heroin addicts a place that they can inject poison into their veins is just not the answer. It may save a handful. It isn't one size fits all, unfortunately, but it may save a few people. But I think we're going to lose a lot more. I think is very counterproductive, and I would be dead against that.
Yeah. Okay. So we have a couple more minutes here, and now we'll get to maybe a set of issues that here at 70 we pay close attention to. So 70 is a century-old good government organization.
I used to work for them.
I did not know that. I didn't. We'll have to catch up
when I was an intern in law school.
Terrific. All right. So you're well familiar with the sorts of issues that we work on. Obviously, there's some stuff that we can change here in Philly. Other stuff that we have to go to Harrisburg for, elections in particular. But again, for things that we could control and change in City Hall, what would be your top priority or two that fit into that good government kind of scope? Or
well, one of my top priorities, period, is instituting term limits here in Philadelphia, and I think that we need term limits at every level of government. The power of the incumbency is so great, and what happens all too often is that people get elected and they turn away from what they said they were going to do, and they weigh everything. Every vote comes down to what they think helps them keep the best job they've ever had. And public service should be service. It should not be a career. They shouldn't be looking to get pensions. But at the very least, we need term limits. And one of the things that I have said is that if I get elected, I will only serve one term. I will not run for re-election. I want people to know, whether they like a vote that I make on city council or they don't like it, that what motivated me was what I believed to be in the best interest of the city, and not what I believed to be pandering to whatever groups I thought I needed to pander to get reelected. But I think that instituting 2-term limits is the way we should go, and I don't think it should be grandfathered in for the current members. Alan Dom has a bill for 3 limits that would grandfather people in. If that's the best we could do, I'd certainly vote for that. I was actually talking to Wilson Good recently, the former mayor.
Proposal.
His proposal was like, I think 1 6-year term for mayor, and I think it was either 1 or 2 for 6-year term for council. I'd be open to any reasonable proposal. I just think we need term limits, and like I say, not just in city council, but that's what I'm running for.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll leave there. Matt Wolfe, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Polls open on Tuesday, November 5th. Again, big election, local offices and judicial offices, ballot questions, a lot of stuff that impacts our lives on a daily basis. To get ready to vote, go to 70.org. Our voter guide is there and ready to use. We Vote app as well has all of our resources, the voter guide or ballot tool to get ready to vote on election day. Matt, since you have one more point.
My website, www.wolfe.org. A lot of information there. And I have a Facebook page, Matt Wolfe for City Council at Large.
There we go.
Information there.
Learn more about this guy. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you on election day.